across England and Wales, particularly across the southeast, it should be largely dry and plenty of sunshine. And temperatures are on the up as we head into the weekend. It's likely we'll see another heat wave. That's it from me. Bye-bye.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good evening, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. The A4060 northbound in Pentrabach will close from 7 tonight until 1 tomorrow morning for maintenance. A collision is causing delays on the A50 westbound between the M1 and A6, with 2 lanes closed. In Staffordshire, a vehicle fire on the M6 northbound between junction 10 and 13 is causing 1-hour delays. Congestion affects the A14 eastbound at junction 55 towards Ipswich Docks. On the M25 anti-clockwise at junction 8 in Surrey, a load spillage has closed a lane. And on the trains, cross-country services are disrupted at Durham and between Derby and Nottingham. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
We're kick-starting summer with your chance to win our biggest cash prize to date, as there's an incredible £54,321 in tax-free cash to be won. What would you spend it on? A brand new car, the holiday of a lifetime, or just sit back, relax and remove some of those day-to-day financial stresses? For another chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What does she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace
Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our viewers and listeners. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/your say. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/your say, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Good evening. 12% of our prisoners are foreign nationals. Why don't we get rid of them rather more swiftly than we currently do? We'll debate that. Angela Rayner confirms today that the welfare bill vote will go ahead next Tuesday, but will it? I'm not so sure. Trump goes absolutely potty at elements of the US media that claim his strike in Iran last week was not as effective as he says it was. All of that and very much more after the news with Sam Francis.
Nigel, thank you, and good evening to you. Just after 7 o'clock, the top story tonight. NATO allies have agreed to raise defence and security spending to 5% of GDP. That is by 2035, more than doubling the long-standing 2% target. The UK also underlined its support, with Sir Keir Starmer confirming Britain will buy US jets capable of carrying nuclear weapons, marking the RAF's return to nuclear deterrence after more than 30 years. NATO's new chief, Mark Rutte, credited Trump for driving the change, while the president called it a monumental win for the US, for Europe and Western civilization.
We live in a very volatile world, and today is about the unity of NATO, showing that strength. We're bigger than we were before, we're stronger than we were before, There's a historic commitment in relation to spending. And for me, as Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, it's important that we play an integral part, because the safety and security of our citizens in the UK is my first duty as Prime Minister. I take that extremely seriously.
A 37-year-old man has been found guilty of murdering 14-year-old schoolboy Daniel Angerin during a samurai sword rampage in north-east London. Today, a jury at the Old Bailey also convicted Marcus Monzo of 3 counts of attempted murder, wounding with intent, aggravated burglary and possessing a bladed article. The attacks happened during a 20-minute spree in Hainault last April, in which Monzo targeted members of the public and police officers. He had previously admitted carrying 2 samurai swords, but denied all other charges. Sir Keir Starmer has defended his leadership as Labour is pushing ahead with a key welfare reform vote despite major rebellion from inside his own party. More than 120 Labour MPs have backed an amendment to scrap the bill, which would tighten access to disability benefits and reshape support for under-22s. Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner told MPs today the vote will go ahead on Tuesday, while Tory stand-in Samel Stride warned Labour risk defeat without cross-party backing.
Of the House, we are absolutely clear. We will help her to get their bill through if they can commit to actually reducing the welfare bill and getting people off benefits and into work. Can the right honourable lady make that commitment right now? Yes or no?
Well, if ever we needed a reminder of the party opposite having no shame, it's their demands for this bill, Mr. Speaker. He demands a programme to help people into work, exactly what this bill does. After he left 1 in 8 young people out of the economy.
Well, in other news tonight, the UK is bracing for a second June heatwave, with temperatures set to soar past 30 degrees this weekend, possibly hitting 34 degrees by Monday. Forecasters say it could become the hottest day of the year so far, threatening to smash records at both Wimbledon and Glastonbury. The southeast, East Anglia and the Midlands will all sizzle, while cooler air and rain keep Scotland and Northern Ireland in the low 20s. The heat is being fuelled by a warm air mass sweeping in from the United States, raising concerns about health risks and potential disruption to rail and infrastructure. And in sport, Gareth Southgate has said it was an amazing honour to receive a knighthood today at Windsor Castle. The former England boss was knighted by the Prince of Wales for his role leading the 3 Lions to 2 European finals, 2020 and, of course, 2024. Joined by his family at that ceremony, Sir Gareth said the experience had made him more emotional than he'd anticipated. Those are the latest headlines for now. More in an hour. Now, though, it's over to Nigel.
Good evening. For the last few weeks, letters have been arriving in my office. I was quite surprised to see one from His Majesty's Prison, Full Sutton. I'm a foreign national prisoner. I've been sentenced to 15 years and 6 months for GBH with intent, which I think means he's a gangster. Why won't you deport me? Please get rid of me. You'd save huge amounts of money. And then I get a one from an Indian. And he writes to me from HMP Ashfield. He says, I only came on a 1-year visa, but I've been in prison now for 2 years. Please deport me. He makes the point that there are hundreds of foreign national prisoners like him who want to be deported. Another one came in today from Spain. Please deport me. I haven't seen my wife and kids for the last 3 years. Quite why they're all writing to me. I suppose they must see me as deporter-in-chief or something like that. But it's interesting that overnight, clearly these letters to me have been getting... There's obviously a campaign of some kind going on. Because overnight the government have announced they will start to deport foreign criminals rather more quickly. At the moment, we don't deport people until they're down to the last 18 months or so of the sentence they're going to serve. But I just wonder... will this ever actually happen? Will it be enacted? Will we start to get rid of people earlier? And why don't we just get rid of them on day one? Love your thoughts, please. Tweet #Farage on GB News or email farage@gbnews.com. Well, who better than Sir Michael Ellis, the former Attorney General, to join me in the studio, along with Kwasi Kwarteng, former Conservative MP and Minister, and Susie Stride, former Labour SPAD. So, Michael, thank you for coming and joining us.
Great pleasure.
The fact that 12% of our prisons are foreigners, that I think we're at 88,000 prisoners at the moment, 98% capacity. We've been releasing loads of on early release. We've watched them coming out, being picked up in Lamborghinis, champagne being sprayed around like Formula One winners, and very high reoffending rates, rapid reoffending rates. You know, you've been in this position, you've looked at this. Why can't we get rid of foreign prisoners more quickly?
Well, frankly, it's in a nutshell, Nigel, it's because the government and successive governments have been too weak on this subject. And the way they've been too weak is because they will not put enough pressure on foreign governments to take back the offenders that should be with them. So Jamaica is an example. And they have many countries have simply refused. They simply say, well, thank you very much for your opinion on this matter, but no, we won't take them back. They can serve their sentence in your country. And if we are going to deport foreign offenders back to their home countries, we need to get permission from those countries to take them back. Otherwise, they simply won't receive them at the gate. That's the idea. And that's where it's gone wrong, because we now have thousands of foreign offenders. If we were to take a Donald Trump approach, he simply makes those countries an offer that they cannot refuse, and they end up, bowing to that demand. But we have been historically weak about it. And we keep giving, for example, more visas to those countries, and we keep giving international aid to those countries, and they keep saying no.
We do have levers here, don't we?
We do have levers, and we don't use them. Right. That's what it boils down to. But if the government...
And did you have... I mean, when you were in government, did you have this debate?
Well, it's not technically a matter for the Attorney General, but yes, it's the sort of thing that it was discussed and it should be discussed. But I think the problem we're increasingly seeing is the prisons are now more and more full, they're more and more at capacity. Sentences are actually starting to be lower in the first place because judges are being reminded that prisons are full. So it's having this knock-on effect. And this is what Shabana Mahmood now apparently wants to do, according to reports, the Minister, the Justice Minister of this government. And she wants to say, well, instead of only being released 18 months before the sentence expires, we want to start releasing them a bit before that, so halfway through a sentence or something. We'll have to wait to see what her announcement is. The idea is, and a sensible one, I have to say, to open up some more places. But it does beg the question, doesn't it, that if you can do it for 18 months, why not do it for longer? How much longer will you let them out for how much earlier in their sentence? So if a person is given a sentence of 4 years, do you want them to do 2.5 years and then the last 18 months back in their home country?
I want to get rid of them on day one. And why don't we do a recip deal with Albania and Jamaica? We'll take all your British prisoners and you take yours.
And that's the million-dollar question. And there's nothing to stop you from doing that if you're the government of the day, apart from your own wishes and your own strength of purpose with those foreign countries, and saying to Albania or whichever other country it is, you're going to take these prisoners back, they are your nationals, and you're going to take them back. The only problem is, will people feel that justice hasn't been served? If an Albanian prisoner is given 4 years, or whatever country they come from, but on day one, instead of serving any of that 4 years, they then get sent to Albania, and then Albania doesn't incarcerate them, for example, or only incarcerates them for 1 year.
Well, I get that, but I think what I would say, the man on the street would say, the man in the pub tonight would say, and women, of course, too, would say, is, you know what, get rid of them, we don't want them, they're costing us a blooming fortune, and bar them from re-entering. This issue, politically, Susie, is interesting because there's no doubt when Labour say they've inherited a big problem, it's true. They have. You know, we haven't built enough prisons, whatever, we can blame the last government, but things are where they are. Those scenes of early release were pretty abhorrent, weren't they? And the reoffending rate's awful. So Mahmood is obviously at least paying some lip service to this. The point being made by Michael Ellis is that if governments get tough, so for any of this to work, we need to get tough. Is this government capable of getting tough with any other foreign government?
I think 100%. I think, look, you can see, look, this is the right direction. People watching today are going to be like, why are we wasting money on this? So why are we letting people out of prison early? You know, why don't we have a justice system that's working? And, you know, I'm going to have to say we had 14 years of a Conservative government that didn't do the business. They didn't do the business on that. And I think, this is good news today. This, people want to hear this.
If it happens.
I think it will happen. And I'll tell you why I think it will happen. There's lots of reasons. A, because it's the right thing, but also because, in this country, I think people are fed up and they want to see change. And they want to see that we're going to be tough.
No, but look, the broader problem isn't one of government. I mean, we haven't mentioned the ECHR, not that it's relevant here, but the culture of the human rights. You can see in a million, immediately you start deporting people. There'll be a whole bunch of lawyers and there are your professional colleagues who will say we can't deport them to
It's not his fault.
No.
You know what Shakespeare said? It's always the lawyer's fault.
I'm just saying, there's a broader culture where if you deported someone to Jamaica, someone will object, prisons in Jamaica aren't sufficiently of the standard that we need. It's inhumane to deport people to countries where they can't look after the prisons. All of that.
Yes.
And you're going to get that whole human rights.
Well, that's what we did have, and the point is we've got a new government, we've got a new Labour government, we've got people in charge. Well, I don't agree. I think, the Labour Party have listened and they know where the country's at. And they know that people want to see change. I'm an optimist.
Susie, it's so endearing to at least meet somebody 1 year on who still believes in the government.
I don't think it is just me. I think we are bringing change to the country. I think, obviously, change does take time. We've been in not even a year yet. But I do believe that we're going to be hard on this.
OK, but the government has shown its colours. So, on prisoners, you will remember, within 2 months, they let 5,000 people out, and that was where you saw the champagne and all of that. And so how is that government that let all those people out going to suddenly be tough and deport criminals?
I don't believe it. But the thing is, those decisions that we made then were because of what we had for 14 years of the Tories.
Let us return to the much maligned legal profession.
Lawyers, look, what it boils down to is this. Lawyers are not there to run the government. They shouldn't be there to run the government. They're there to be advisors. And this is where I think, governments can go wrong, and we've seen examples of that. It shouldn't be to do with the ECHR, Nigel, this one, because if you're already sending prisoners back to Jamaica or back to their country of origin, if you're sending some back, it should be OK to send others back. It's not as though you're saying that a particular country, you're not trying to send prisoners back to Iran, for example. If a country is safe for a prisoner, it should be safe for all of those prisoners. So the determination that I think Shabana Mahmood is trying to make, if these reports are true, is that we should just bring back the time that they have to serve in this country so as to release some prison spaces. The other thing I think this government could look at is at the moment judges can't make deportation orders for prisoners unless they've been given a sentence of 12 months or more. So why not look at actually saying, OK, even if you get 1 month in prison, you should be deported. You're not a desirable person for this country if you have been given a prison sentence.
Well, I think that would be
the threshold.
That would be enormously popular.
Yeah.
Kwasi does raise a good point, though. Whilst ECHR is not directly involved in this particular debate,
it gets its tentacles everywhere.
But
that's exactly right.
And it's part of the culture. I think that was the point Kwasi was making.
That's exactly right.
It's very interesting that now right across Europe there is criticism of, I suppose, judicial activism.
Yeah, the tide is turning very slowly.
David Blunkett, as Labour Home Secretary, could deport tens of thousands of people without any trouble at all. Is ECHR reform actually going to happen?
Well, it needs to happen. I mean, I've advocated about leaving the ECHR. So, but the reality is that it's broken. The system is broken. There is now increasing judicial activism, and I say that as a former Attorney General. The truth of the matter is that judges are starting to make political decisions about some of these cases, and that is trouble for governments of all colours, by the way. And it doesn't matter. That's the same whether it's a Labour government or a Conservative government, or any other government, Nigel, that might come in, right?
Who knows?
But that would be a main blocking point, and that can't be the right approach. Lawyers are there to advise, and that's how it should be.
So right now, you think we have to either radical reform or we leave. Is that your position?
Yes, it is. In fact, I'm not sure whether it's reformable, frankly. I have my doubts as to the reformability of the process.
Is it reformable in your view?
I think it is. I think, look, I think one of the things that makes us great as a country is we do have human rights, we have a certain way that we treat people, etc. And I think it is important that there are standards there. However, institutions can be abused, and that is part of maybe what we're talking about here. I think it can be reformed, and I think we need to see, again, that we've been in government, for 12 months. Let's see what happens.
We did have human rights before the Human Rights Act.
We have Magna Carta, we don't need something.
And we wrote it,
we were practising human rights in this country when most of Europe were under dictatorship.
Well, actually, freedoms and liberties.
It's absolutely.
Kwasi, are you a leaver?
Look, I think we should probably leave the ECHR. I think we should leave the ECHR because it seems to me, not just on this issue, I mean, as it says, only tangential, but on the stopping the boats, on asylum seekers, the ECHR is like a straitjacket. And if we get rid of it, we'll have more freedom.
And let's face it, Rwanda failed because of this.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
But I would say it won't be a panacea.
No,
it's not the only block.
I agree.
There are other blocks. There's other forms of judicial review.
And not to mention our own judges.
Well, that's right. That's right. And we are increasingly seeing, judicial review interfering with ministerial decisions, both at in Labour and in Conservative governments.
These are great battles for the future. Michael Ellis, thank you very much indeed
Nigel.
for coming in and joining us. In a minute, will the benefits bill vote really go ahead next Tuesday if the government is to face a stonking defeat, or will there be some fudge of some kind that is done? All of that, and we'll explain it to you in full in just a moment.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Bishopsthorpe Road, it's on the verges of York City Centre, and it was once crowned the best high street in Britain, but there is a new issue facing it, and that is?
The cost of parking. It's increased by, wait for it, 500%.
And they've done that overnight without consultation, right?
Yeah.
So it now costs £4.85 an hour, right? And what's that going to do? It's going to stop people visiting.
It's going to drive people away.
Anna, it's not easy to get around York, I have to say. One road in, one road out type thing, congestion around the place. Yes, there's car parking spaces, but goodness me, I mean, this is obviously very, very controversial, and these are the sort of taxes, indirect taxes, that come on all of us. It's now going to cost us so much money just to get there, just to see there. Tell us more.
That's right, Eamon, and the City of York Council have introduced this to try and reduce congestion, to try and get more people on buses.
Extra things like this just mean that it's been unprepared, but also it just adds up, and it then stops you from doing other things. For people that haven't got enough money to eat and to look after their kids and things, I think it's disgusting, to be honest.
Thank you for speaking with us this morning, Karen. Really appreciate it. The council say that they are going to review these charges. They're going to look at them every 3, 6 and 9 months and start engaging with the local community to just see how fair these prices are.
OK, Anna Riley.
Where are you parked this morning, Anna?
We're parked here, £22.50 it's cost us.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Dubes & Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I asked you at home, will we start booting out foreign criminals rather more quickly? Some of your responses. Annie says it won't happen. As long as we're in the ECHR, the only foreign criminals who will be deported will be the ones who want to go home and would like the government to pay for their ticket. Well, in this case, these prisoners would like to, and they're still not. Harry says, good idea, which is why it'll never happen. So cynical, you lot. Neil says, how do you think a rape victim would feel if after going through a harrowing trial, the rapist is just sent home to carry on with their lives? This is not well thought through, Nigel. Well, that's a very strong, powerful point, but I just think the argument that we get rid of bad people, the argument it doesn't cost us 50k a year to keep them in prison, the argument we bar them from ever coming back, I think overrides most things, but it is a very powerful thought that you've just put. Right, now the government could be in a mess because we have, quite a big vote coming up next week. The Universal Credit and Personal Independence Payments Bill. And there is big opposition mounting on the Labour backbenches to any change to these benefits at all. But today, standing in for Keir Starmer, who, of course, was at the NATO summit, we have a Deputy Prime Minister confirming that this vote, despite problems, will go ahead.
Can she at least assure the House that the vote on Tuesday will actually go ahead?
Mr. Speaker, I don't know if he sort of listened to what I said because I was reading off the script, but what I can tell him, and I don't need the script, we will go ahead on Tuesday.
So what's it all about? Well, I'm joined in the studio by Theo Usherwood, political commentator, former political editor at LBC. Theo, we hear all this. What does it actually mean?
So this goes back to the Spring Statement, and the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, had to restore her fiscal headroom to keep the markets happy. And as part of that plan, she announced that she was going to cut disability benefit to the tune of around £5 billion, focusing on personal independence payments. So for many people, and this isn't, the government said they would protect the most disabled, but those who the government believed can work. But it is worth bearing in mind, this is what's causing consternation amongst Labour MPs. It does include those who cannot wash or dress themselves below the waist are going to see their benefits cut by as much as half. And that, Rachel Reeves hopes, will save around £5 billion a year. Now
we're spending about £70 billion a year.
And it's going to hit £100 billion. The bill's going to hit £100 billion by 2029. 1,000 people a day are joining the PIP, claiming PIP. That's equivalent to the city the size of Leicester. And the government need to bring this down. It's doubled since COVID. And as part of this, but Labour MPs are really unhappy about it. They don't like the principle of it. And we've got a rebellion of 120 at the moment who have signed this reason.
Which would more than wipe out the government majority.
It would more than wipe out the government majority. Now, Kemi Badenoch's been quite shrewd in terms of the politics. She said she's willing to lend the government support, but she'll only lend the government support if they promise not to increase taxes in the autumn, and that's something that Rachel Reeves and Keir Starmer can't do. So we're going to have, if this vote goes ahead, and I'm not sure that it will go ahead, but if it does go ahead on Tuesday, this reasoned amendment, you'll have Labour MPs going through the voting lobbies with, of course, the Liberal Democrats and Tories, and the government will lose, and the legislation would fall. But you would think that there will be some deals, some concessions that would be announced before then in negotiations with those Labour MPs, but that doesn't come without a price. And the real danger is that if Rachel Reeves, and Kwasi will have some experience of this, I'm sure it'll be very interesting to get your first-hand knowledge, that if Rachel Reeves simply puts it off, that the sums that she presented to Parliament, that she presented ultimately to the markets in March, won't add up. And we could see a really adverse reaction, especially when it comes to government debt. The soaring cost of government debt, 10-year bond yields goes up.
And they'd be rising anyway.
And they'd be going up anyway. And if that spirals to a level that suddenly we're paying all of this money on servicing the interest, then that could ultimately cost Rachel Reeves her job.
Where do you stand, Susie, on this? I mean, it is the first really big division that we've seen a year in.
Yeah, I think, look, the current system isn't working, and, you know, and it's broken. It's costing, as we just said, the huge amounts to the taxpayer. But it's not just that. For me, it's about people's lives as well. And we know that work brings dignity and the importance of, you know, empowering people to get back to work. However, so reform is absolutely needed. That is the right decision. However, there is a big reason why you've got 100 Labour MPs that are massively concerned about the vulnerable. And, you know, we are the Labour Party. We care about the vulnerable. We're in politics to protect the vulnerable. So I think this is, you know, a very, very difficult balancing game. And, you know, we're just going to... And I think Theo is right. Those discussions are just going to be taking place. You know, negotiations are going to be taking place, and we just have to see what's going to happen.
So hard to believe, Kwasi, that 1,000 people a day are joining this scheme. What's happening? Are we getting sicker and sicker as a country?
I don't think we are. I just think it's easier and easier to get the benefits. I know that's controversial.
No, it's a very interesting statement.
1,000 a day. So let's talk about the economics, which is all about the cost of the state, how much the Chancellor can spend, how much she has to raise in tax, all of that. And then there's a very narrow political discussion. So my view on the 120, from experience, I know people say, oh, well, the Conservatives were different. It's human nature. The whips will be ringing people like crazy.
I've heard a shouting match this afternoon.
Over the weekend. It's only Wednesday now. They've got 5 days
to whittle away.
To whittle away at the 120.
They've got one so far. One person's withdrawn their name.
So yeah, but it's all very optically, you know, sensitive.
And this is the old sort of, you know, do you really want to have a promotion or a career in
You'll
politics?
never get to be a minister under this government. All of that. They might give 1 or 2 concessions, but all of that will be revealed very close to the vote. Because you never a week out say, oh, you know, we've got 10 people over.
Sure.
And the people who've signed their name, they're not going to suddenly cave. So a lot of that sort of close in-fighting, hand-to-hand fighting politically, will be right at the end. So the weekend, Monday. And then if the government really feels they can't win the vote, they could pull it. But the problem with that is that it's very hard to revisit it because you've essentially just given away ground to the rebels. And it'll embolden the rebels. So the next time, they know that the government's an easy pushover. So it's a very difficult political situation.
I just want to say, the bigger picture here is, you know, what we inherited is what we inherited from the Tories.
You're banging on about that.
We've only been in for 12 months.
And everything will be hunky-dory.
And everything will be hunky-dory. The fact is, the state that we're in, even the fact that, you know, NEET, I've spent years working with young people not in education, employment and training. And what the last Labour government did, you know, the jobs guarantee, that was all scrapped by your lot. And the point is we are where we are because of the Tories. No, we are where we are because of the Tories.
We all accept that you did inherit a whole series of problems. We're just beginning to get a bit bored hearing it every time there's a debate.
So it's not about, it's just that is the analysis of the situation.
What I don't understand.
But the future looks good. I think the future looks like...
It's all well and good
the
to say
future looks like there is gold everywhere in this country, in every community.
So what I don't
and we want a government that's going to tap into that gold.
So what I don't understand about the Labour strategy
potential
of blaming the Tories for everything is that Reform are 7 points ahead of you. So blaming the Tories for everything isn't going to close the deficit between Reform and Labour. So it seems like a bonkers strategy.
Wait, no,
I mean, in the old days, yes.
I'm not going to start blaming Nigel Farage because he's...
In the old days, it made sense because it was a two-party system.
Really interesting.
So you blame the other lot, and I get that.
No, I just think
but that's all going to get you out of your hole.
The point is, you guys have been in for 14 years.
I'm drawing stumps. I'm drawing stumps.
But the future looks good. The future looks good under Keir Starmer.
This actually is a repeat of what goes on the whole time in the House of Commons.
Yeah, sure.
And it is actually getting a bit boring hearing it's all the other lots.
The other thing you haven't mentioned, of course, in all of this, and I was hearing it from one minister this evening, is the pandemic. And there wasn't... The complaint they have, and this is a bit more of a nuanced argument, is there wasn't a plan after the pandemic to get people back into work, particularly young people who are suffering, and the complaint is often mental health issues. And there's been an embracement of work from home. You know, what is closer to a life on benefits? Working 3 days a week at home, speaking to your colleagues over Zoom, especially if you're a young person, you're trying to get into office life, or going into the office 5 days a week, having a sandwich with a colleague, going out for a pint or a glass of wine on a Friday night. I think, but that's closer to working life than
we've got more people going on,
Pip.
I spoke to one of the counties today where special needs provision for kids is rising by 11% per year, and there are hangovers here from the pandemic, from lockdowns that are huge. Quick final thought, will this vote go ahead on Tuesday?
My prediction at the moment is no, it won't go ahead. There doesn't seem to be any budget, but I'll defer to Kwasi's knowledge.
Well,
if they can
I think they'll get the thumb screws out.
Yeah.
There's not a huge amount of love there.
I tell you what.
And on a hopeful note, we're investing in apprenticeships and a youth job guarantee. No, but that's people's lives. You've got to say, that's people's lives being changed.
I tell you what, I'm joining Theo. This vote will not go ahead next Tuesday. Why? However much they can use the thumb screws, as was described a moment ago by Kwasi, there's just too many of them. And I think this government has a very big problem now on its left flank. In a moment, let's talk Donald Trump fuming at a US intelligence report leaked in media channels that he's not a great fan of.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Plenty of heat at the moment across the Mediterranean. Most places sunny, and the peak of the heat over the next few days will be through central parts of the Mediterranean. A little cooler for the time being through Spain, Portugal, Canaries as well, where it's, typically breezy, and it's also breezy for the Balearics, but we've got this plume of heat now through central parts of Europe, certainly some unusually high temperatures to Italy and to Croatia, and then later on across parts of Greece, mid to high 30s widely.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there, good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. As we head through the overnight period, a risk of thundery showers across the southeast, but elsewhere, plenty of cloud and further outbreaks of rain. And for all, it is set to be a warm and muggy night to come. And we can see from our bigger picture, plenty of frontal systems moving in from the west and south, bringing us that cloud and bringing us the rain. But it's really across the southeast where we need to keep an eye on some quite heavy showers moving into parts of Kent, East Anglia, and these could possibly turn thundery during the early hours of the morning, but plenty of rain sweeping its way in from the west. This could be heavy at times, particularly across western parts of Scotland, but for all, many towns and cities not really dropping much past the mid to high teens, so it's going to be warm, muggy and feel quite uncomfortable through the overnight period. And many are going to be waking up to quite a wet start, particularly across Scotland, some quite heavy and blustery outbreaks of rain, particularly across the north and west, starting to clear a little more across far west of Northern Ireland, but even here still plenty of cloud and some light showery outbreaks towards eastern areas. And elsewhere across England and Wales, once again, cloudy outbreaks of rain, particularly across Wales, Devon, Cornwall, elsewhere across the southwest. And this system through the course of the morning will slowly edge its way eastward. Still a chance of some heavy blustery outbreaks of rain, but eventually clearing from the west, which means it will brighten up nicely. Still some showers around, but mostly dry by the afternoon. Plenty of sunny spells, and the difference will be it will be feeling a lot fresher, but still highs of around 25 degrees Celsius across the southeast, so still warm in the sunshine. And then Friday to end the week, once again further outbreaks of rain, mainly towards the far north and northwest, where once again it could be heavy, if not quite blustery at times, but elsewhere across England and Wales, particularly across the southeast, it should be largely dry and plenty of sunshine. And temperatures are on the up as we head into the weekend. It's likely we'll see another heat wave. That's it from me. Bye-bye.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Now, of course, on Saturday night we had the bombing missions against the Iranian military nuclear installations. But overnight, reports came out, US intelligence leaked reports came out in, let's put it this way, media channels in America that are not pro-Donald Trump, saying actually they had not been that successful at all. This was Trump's response to those media reports from The Hague earlier on today.
I had a call that the pilots and the people on the plane, they all said it was hit. But we don't think it was really maybe hit that badly. And they were devastated. They put their lives on the line, and then they have, and I'm not referring to you, but real scum come out and write reports that are as negative as they could possibly be.
Well, very Donald Trump, wasn't it? I mean, his language in the last couple of days. I mean, I don't. Susie, none of us know. We saw pictures of trucks.
Yeah.
Maybe some of the enriched uranium was taken out of the sites.
Yeah.
Difficult for us to know, isn't it?
No, we don't know. We don't know. I mean, interestingly, I've done quite a lot of work with, like, Iranian refugees and people that have had to flee that country because of the evilness of the, you know, Iranian. You can't even call it a government.
No, they can't.
And so, you know, for me, I'm happy that, you know, let's hope that there is positive that's happening.
We just don't know, quite.
No, we don't. But what we do know is that the regime is quite weak.
Yeah.
And
possibly teetering.
Possibly. And what Israel did really scared, you know, the living daylights out of them. Because they, if you remember, they assassinated a lot of the top brass. And so if you're at the top of the, you know, the Iranian regime, you're very scared. I mean, I had it on reasonable authority. The Ayatollah, the main Khamenei, he's called, he doesn't have a mobile phone anymore. That's what I'm told, because people are so scared. And even if that isn't true, that gives you an indication of how worried they are. So psychologically, this has been a big win for Israel and the United States.
I think that's right.
And also for like Iranian people and democracy. Do you know what I mean?
Well, look,
these people,
Susie,
you know,
I support regime change. I thought attempting regime change in Syria, in Iraq was mad. This is one I think that would benefit.
Yeah, but the thing about regime change is you don't know what's going to come.
Yeah,
that's true.
No, I mean, I've been talking
this lot are so bad.
No, they are bad.
They're so bad.
You know, we've thought that about a lot of people, and then the next person that comes is even
Well, I know.
worse.
Moving on. Trump, in his first term and coming into this term, has constantly talked about delinquent NATO members.
Yes.
And I know from my personal conversations with him that actually he's far more expansive than much of the Republican Party when it comes to wanting to deal and work with NATO members. The fact we've even got a commitment today to 5% apart from Spain, pretty remarkable change in politics, isn't it?
Because what happened, you know, when he first came in, everyone was outraged. Oh, how can he say, you know? But actually, when you look to the numbers, a rich country like Germany was essentially being supervised and underwritten and supported financially by the United States. And what that means is that Germany's not spending money on defence, but they are spending money on their welfare state. So ultimately, the US taxpayer is subsidising, you know, welfare payments.
Yeah, and even Keir Starmer's talking 5%. Now, we might question how we get to the numbers. One other interesting thing I thought that's come out of all of this is that for the first time since 1998, it's been announced that the UK is going to have a nuclear capability via 12 F-35A fighter jets. Is this government really taking defence seriously?
Yeah, I think it's really important. And also, do you know what? I think people out there think it's important. People, you know, care about defence. They care about us taking security seriously. Also, this is going to create jobs, thousands of jobs. But I think it is really important. And, you know, it wouldn't be important if you didn't have Putin and China and all this other. But when you've got instability in the world on a scale of what we're seeing, you can't have people saying, oh, we don't need a nuclear capability. This is important.
Is Starmer putting the last Conservative government to shame on defence?
Well, I think he's had to put up the numbers. And even we announced, I remember having to announce, rightly, that we need to put more money into defence. The world's changed. The world of 2010, 2012...
It is very different.
...is a million years away. And we've got threats that we'd never even considered before. And also, as a change in the last 12 years, the whole cybersecurity threat. You've seen, you know, banks' accounts being raided, whole businesses being stopped. That didn't happen 12 years ago. So the nature of the threat, the nature of the instability means that we have to spend more money on defence.
Well, one thing we can't sort out, of course, is the asylum system, and it is quite extraordinary that we now have a what the Farage moment today where the Home Office admit that they have lost, no, I'm not making this up, they have lost 45,000 asylum seekers. They've just disappeared. We've no idea where these people have actually gone to. It is difficult to believe that they are called implicit withdrawals from the asylum system. Kwasi,
I think
this has been a disaster now for what, 20 years?
Probably about 20 or 25 years.
Yeah.
And we've essentially lost. I mean, many viewers will remember the population of the UK for many years was 55 million.
Yep.
And when I ask a simple question about what do we think the UK population, nobody knows. Nobody can give me an answer. Some people say 72, some people say 70, some people think it's maybe 68. But nobody actually knows in the country knows how many people there are. And that's a factor of many reasons, because it's much easier to travel and cross borders. When they're in the system, they can get lost, literally. I mean, I remember as an MP, someone came to my surgery, lovely chap, didn't have a passport, wanted to have a passport to see his cousin in Sri Lanka. And I said, so where's your passport? I said, I've never had one. I said, how did you get here? I said, you just get...
We shouldn't laugh.
No, but it's, I mean, and this is going on. And I thought, well, this is one person coming to see an MP. There must be literally hundreds of thousands of
I mean,
people.
all of this stuff, Susie, the boats, the out of control, the impact of the exploding population on people's lives really hurt this lot in government. I mean,
I think it was a big problem.
And isn't there? Don't you think, as a Labour supporter, there's a danger that it hurts your government too?
Look, ultimately, you've got to listen to people and see that actually this is one of the key things that people care about. They care about immigration. Yeah. But I do think we are taking it seriously. I do think, that we're seeing increased returns home. There's lots of things I think that I think there's lots of things that Keir Starmer and Yvette Cooper are doing. But again, you're not going to turn it around in 12 months. That's not what's going to happen. But you are right. You can't be arrogant. This is the thing about politicians. You can't be arrogant and say, oh, this isn't a problem. No, it is a problem. This is why people are talking about it. We need to listen to them. We need to be humble, and we need to address it.
You see, I think it's more than a political problem. It's not just because there were, the bad Tories and good Labour are going to fix it. There's a problem in terms of the administration, the judges, the courts, all of those things. And you think Labour might think, oh, they're going to suddenly turn it around. They won't, because people will say, well, what about their human rights? You can't deport somebody because they're a role model as a father. Some of the madness that we've seen. And it's very difficult for politicians, frankly, of either stripe,
I think that's right.
To do anything about it.
I think that's right.
That's the reality.
No, I think that is absolutely right, and that just how big the challenge is ahead of us. Thank you to both of you. In a moment, I'm going to be talking to representatives of farmers and small businesses who have now decided that what they're going to do is take legal action over inheritance tax against the Chancellor. I have to say, when I hear of legal actions, I'm deeply sceptical, but who knows? After the break, I might just be convinced.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. That's State of the Nation every Monday and Tuesday at 8 o'clock, only on GB News, the People's Channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our viewers and listeners. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/your say. There, you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/your say, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Well, we know there is huge distress amongst the farming community about the inheritance tax rules. Just last Saturday, I met somebody, he said, we farmed this land since 1740. I'm in my 80s. If I don't live for 7 years, what are we to do? But also it affects family businesses too, and yet that doesn't get talked about very much. Well, now a group have got together. They're going to take legal action against the Chancellor on the basis that this is flawed legislation because they didn't carry out a proper consultation as to what the impact might be. Well, I'm joined down the line by Steve Perez, who is a businessman who is part of this consortium taking legal action against the government. Steve, absolute pleasure to have you on the programme. I completely understand the angst that family businesses, family farms have got. I completely understand it, and I literally see it every day from people, the level of distress. But what makes you think that spending lots of money with lawyers can change anything?
It's about the only thing we can do. Unfortunately, businesses, we don't have tractors, and we don't have combine harvesters we can fill Whitehall up with. So our only course is to take legal action, and hopefully the government will take notice. They'll pick up and take notice of this because the government has an obligation to do a proper study, to speak to businesses, to a consultation process. For example, the government are just carrying out a sugar tax review at the moment. There's full consultation with industry. However, with this tax, this BPR, business property relief, there's absolutely no consultation really whatsoever, other than some technical issues which I don't understand. But nobody's come and talked to me or any other businesses, and it's going to devastate our businesses. My business cannot afford a 20% tax. My heirs would have to find 20% of the value of the business from having paid taxed income.
Yeah, no, Steve, I understand that. I also, by the way, I get your point that farmers have combine harvesters. They can drive into Truro, they can drive into central London. But I still don't understand why business doesn't seem to have any concerted voice at all. Is there any organisation that kind of represents you?
The problem is with business, I've spoken to a lot of businesses. A lot of businesses are afraid of sticking their heads above the parapet. A lot of businesses are afraid that the staff will leave if you start making a noise because they're going to feel insecure. And I've had people coming into my office saying, "Oh, we're really concerned, Steve, because I'm 68 years old. What happens if you die? Will the business? Will we still have a job, or will we get sold?" Yeah, I can understand their concerns, and the government has talked all the time about working people, but this is going to affect 16 million working people. I mean, my concern, I've built a very successful business. I'm very fortunate. I started in the white van in 1986, and I'm successful. My family financially will be fine. But my concern is the businesses. All these other businesses, all my employees, all the employees, will probably get sold to a multinational, to somewhere based in Dubai or whatever, but who don't pay any tax or won't pay inheritance tax. Family businesses are the bedrock of this country, and we invest in the long term. We don't invest to please the shareholders next year or whatever. We plan years and years in advance.
No, I mean, Steve, look, I understand the logic of all of those arguments. And by the way, I've run my own businesses over the course of the last 30 years. I get it. I understand it. And, I've had good times doing it and bad times doing it as well. And yeah, you do. And actually, your employees become an extension of your own family. You really care about them enormously. Steve, in terms of this legal action, exactly what route will this take?
Well, this will be a judicial review.
Right.
So we're applying for a judicial review. Now, the courts may not grant it. Now, should they grant it, the government will have to look into and explain why they are bringing in this tax and actually the money it's going to raise and actually issue an impact assessment. I've just done some quick numbers because I just don't think the Treasury have got the numbers right. So there's 5.1 million family businesses in the UK, and the government reckon they are going to raise 540 million from this tax. Now I worked that out at around about £100 per business. Now I reckon if you go along and say to every business, why don't we charge every single business £200? Right, that means they'll get £1 billion. And let's forget about this business property relief. Let's us, because I don't want to spend time on TV and talking to lawyers and accountants. I want to get on and run my business and employ more people. We're doing fantastic business right now in the USA. We've got great opportunities. And I'm thinking now, well, is it worth it? What happens if I die?
Steve, I completely understand that, and we wish you well health-wise, and we wish you well, and we wish you well with this judicial review. I genuinely do. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Nigel. Thank you.
Coming up next, we have State of the Nation with Matt Goodwin. What's coming up this evening, Matt?
Well, we've got a big one tonight, Nigel. The UK border chief has said Keir Starmer's strategy is not working. No gangs are being smashed. We're going to be debating that with a former government lawyer. We've got this new Southport Commission with lots of big names being added to talk about the roots of what led to the Southport protests. We'll be debating with rising star Connie Shaw at the Free Speech Union. And I've got a Christian street preacher in the studio tonight debating whether we have two-tier justice because her protest was shut down, but actually many other religious protests in this country are not shut down.
Yeah. And if it's a pro-Palestine march or it's Palestine action and you turn up with an Israel flag...
Or even pro-Iran these days, or even pro-Iran. So it's going to be a good one tonight, just in a couple of minutes.
Splendid. Right. Well, that's over and out for me this evening. I'll be back with you live tomorrow evening at 7 p.m, where we'll discuss all the issues of the day. But before that, let's have a look at the all-important weather with Honor Krizik.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. As we head through the overnight period, a risk of thundery showers across the southeast, but elsewhere, plenty of cloud and further outbreaks of rain. And for all, it is set to be a warm and muggy night to come. And we can see from our bigger picture, plenty of frontal systems moving in from the west and south, bringing us that cloud and bringing us the rain. But it's really across the southeast where we need to keep an eye on some quite heavy showers moving into parts of Kent, East Anglia, and these could possibly turn thundery during during the early hours of the morning, but plenty of rain sweeping its way in from the west. This could be heavy at times, particularly across western parts of Scotland. But for all, many towns and cities not really dropping much past the mid to high teens. So it's going to be warm, muggy and feel quite uncomfortable through the overnight period. And many are going to be waking up to quite a wet start, particularly across Scotland. Some quite heavy and blustery outbreaks of rain, particularly across the north and west. Starting to clear a little more across far west of Northern Ireland, but even here still plenty of cloud and some light showery outbreaks towards eastern areas. And elsewhere across England and Wales, once again, cloudy outbreaks of rain, particularly across Wales, Devon, Cornwall, elsewhere across the southwest. And this system through the course of the morning will slowly edge its way eastward. Still a chance of some heavy blustery outbreaks of rain, but eventually clearing from the west, which means it will brighten up nicely. Still some showers around, but mostly dry by the afternoon. Plenty of sunny spells, and the difference will be it will be feeling a lot fresher, but still highs of around 25 degrees Celsius across the southeast, so still warm in the sunshine. And then Friday to end the week, once again further outbreaks of rain, mainly towards the far north and northwest, where once again it could be heavy, if not quite blustery at times. But elsewhere across England and Wales, particularly across the southeast, it should be largely dry and plenty of sunshine. And temperatures are on the up as we head into the weekend. It's likely we'll see another heat wave. That's it from me. Bye-bye.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
£54,321 in totally tax-free cash could make your year the best yet. How would you react if you got that winning call?
Oh my God, I'm going to cry. Oh my God. Thank you.
You weren't expecting to get that call today, were you?
No, I wasn't.
For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date. Or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I ever got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good evening, you're watching State of the Nation tonight, right here on GB News with me, Matt Goodwin, on tonight's show. As a British border chief claims that migrant hotels are not going anywhere tonight, we will be revealing the farce that is Labour's illegal migration plan. The government has backed a commission into the cause of the Southport riots, but you're not going to believe who is leading it. Meanwhile, as the government talks tough on defence spending at the NATO summit,